A Jewish man died in California after a confrontation during dueling protests over the Israel-Hamas war. The victim was identified as 69-year-old Paul Kessler. Witnesses told investigators Kessler was involved in a physical altercation with one or more counter-protesters before he hit his head on the ground.
Well, today marks 1 month since Hamas launched its initial attack on Israel. Israeli troops have surrounded Gaza City as they prepare for ground battles with Hamas militants in the enclave's largest city. This comes as Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu ruled out the notion of a ceasefire without the release of hostages. So for more on this, we are joined by Elise Labott. She is the founder and editor of Zivi Media. She's also a professor at the American University School of International Service. Thank you so much for joining us, Elise. So very interesting. Benjamin Netanyahu did an interview where he was asked some of these tough questions about how he's handling things. As you know, he's been facing a lot of criticism, essentially for Israel not being prepared for this initial terrorist attack. But now there is criticism for the bombardment of Gaza. How is Netanyahu balancing calls to take out Hamas, but also calls to end the violence?
Well, it's not easy for him. He's like kind of swimming in oatmeal here. I mean, he definitely is getting calls to destroy Hamas. And I think, you know, obviously this was, you know, it's like a cliche at this point, the worst, you know, attack that Israel has faced since the Holocaust, really, in one day. It was a horrible, brutal attack. And I think there is a recognition, not just in Israel, but around the world that, you know, Hamas needs to be destroyed. The question is, how do you do it? And around the world, specifically in the United States, they've been saying, you could do this in a more targeted way, maybe with special operations forces. You could, you know, obviously do what they did with Munich, right? In 1972 with that horrible attack. They hunted down those leaders who mastermind for years and then took care of them that way. This mass civilian casualties is really causing him around the world so many problems. I think that in Israel, the initial public opinion was like, we need to destroy Hamas. Doesn't matter what the collateral damage is. Even the hostages, I think, were considered, you know, a kind of sacrifice that the country would have to go to destroy Hamas. But as this drags on, I think disaffection for Netanyahu, and also, you know, that these loved ones have been away for a month now, the public opinion is changing now. And they're saying you have a responsibility to get these hostages back. And these mass bombings, these mass casualties are not helping.
So, Elise, you've interviewed Netanyahu in the past. You know Israel very well through your time as a reporter. There's something curious about what is happening now. So even in the initial hours after the massacre on October 7th, you had newspapers like Haaretz saying that Bibi Netanyahu was primarily responsible for the failures of that day. In the weeks since then, you've had the defense minister, the IDF chief of staff, the head of Shin Bet, the head of military intelligence, all have come forward to explain to the Israeli public that they bear some responsibility for this attack. And yet Netanyahu has refused to take responsibility for it. This was the headline in Haaretz just a day after the massacre. Netanyahu bears responsibility for this Israel-Gaza war. This was the headline in the Jerusalem Post just 3 days ago, why Netanyahu must take personal responsibility for Hamas's massacre. Now, I know that those newspapers are left of center, but explain the rationale here from Netanyahu's perspective. Why is he unwilling to say on the record that he bears, as the head of the government, some responsibility?
Well, this is classic Netanyahu, right? To deflect responsibility and, you know, deflect making a decision, all of these things. And in that interview that you mentioned with ABC News, finally he was pressed by David Muir and he said, yes, of course I bear some responsibility. I think what people are thinking here is Netanyahu bears responsibility, not just for the attack in terms of the intelligence failures. That's why these defense ministers, the intelligence minister, they're all taking responsibility for their part in it. What Israelis are saying is he bears responsibility for his part in the attack, not heeding intelligence warnings. but also creating the climate on the ground, which led to this attack. And it's a lot of different things. It's supporting Hamas over the years, kind of keeping them as a bulwark against a strong Palestinian Authority. He was really responsible in some ways for helping the growth of Hamas, and particularly in Gaza. Then there's his policies on the West Bank and protecting settlers and not protecting the country at large. This right-wing coalition, which is really aggravating the Palestinian situation. And then there's his own personal political issues and his corruption trials and a distraction to the country. And then recently, this whole idea of the judiciary and him wanting to lower the powers of the Supreme Court so that he can stay in power, which launched the biggest protest in the country's history. So all of this, when Israelis are kind of adding up the ledger, Netanyahu is really responsible for the country being where it is today that led to this attack. And don't forget, Netanyahu was supposed to be the security prime minister. He was the one keeping the country safe. This was really his only saving grace. And if he can't do that, who can? And if he can't do that, what's his value? So I expect after this war, I think the country wants to stay together during this time of war, but afterwards, I think he's out. You know, it's funny because that's what I was kind of going to ask you about, just how much longevity he has. But as you were sort of listing off so many of his moves, it sort of reminded me, Elise, that so much of what he's done politically in the last several years has been, it seems like, primarily about political survival more than anything else. And so I wonder if that is also at the forefront of the decisions that he's making now. And, one of the other sort of things that he brought up in that interview that I think had a lot of people scratching their heads is that he felt that Israel would be responsible for Gaza's security for the foreseeable future, which hasn't gone really all that well at all. That's why, Israel pulled out. So do you think he's still sort of thinking about his political survival even now? As he rejects calls, for example, from President Biden for a humanitarian pause, that his focus is his political survival, which is why he's prosecuting the war in the way that he is. Well, I mean, that's what a lot of people are saying now. Is he prolonging the war? Is he launching, not having a humanitarian ceasefire because of these issues? I think I want to hear a little bit more from Israel about what his defense advisors and his war cabinet is advising him, because we really don't know in terms of those particular decisions where we know where the country seems to be leaning, but we don't really know where the national security apparatus is leaning. I think that it's all about political survival for Netanyahu. He is more of a center-right prime minister, but he's had to go so far to the right to hold on to his coalition, to hold on to power. I think you see polls, after 9/11, President Bush, his polls rose from the way he dealt with the war and the global war on terror. And that helped him with a second term, be elected to a second term. You have this opposite phenomenon where Netanyahu's polls are going down. He's been able to hold on. He's like the kind of Teflon prime minister. I think, though, that even if the country were to go to a special election, I don't think Likud even would get enough votes for him to be able to cobble together this type of coalition. So I think his days are numbered. And then that answer opens up questions about, whether he's going to be convicted on these corruption trials. But I think in terms of the war in Israel, he is coming under increasing pressure. But I do think President Biden is giving him mixed messages, right? He's saying you need to minimize civilian casualties, but he's not, giving any kind of hard warnings about if you don't stop, this is what we're going to do. They're not siding with the rest of the international community at the UN. I think when President Biden is ready to kind of squeeze Netanyahu a little bit more, and considering U.S. support right now that's so ironclad, I think it's going to be harder for him to avoid calls for a ceasefire. And don't forget, super quickly, guys, in that interview, he was kind of conflating on purpose a humanitarian pause and a ceasefire. Right. He kept saying, no ceasefire, no ceasefire. We're talking about a pause. Just to get aid. Not just an hour, maybe like 12 to 24 hours. to get the wounded out, to get people treated, to, you know, give everybody some just kind of respite.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's going forward ahead. I think you'll see a humanitarian pause pretty soon.
Elise Labott, always great to talk to you. Thank you so much for your perspective and analysis. We really appreciate it.
Good to be with you.